All right, hello everybody, and welcome to Monster Monday for October 26, 2020. I'm your host, DM Gallibond, and tonight on Monster Monday, we are going to be talking a little bit about the Assassin Vine. Okay, so think about your party. We have Rachel the Rogue, Fred the Fighter, Wally the Wizard, Connie the Cleric. They are making their way through the jungle. They know that somewhere in this expanse of endless flora and fauna, there lie the ruins of the ancient Kolpichitek people. And the Kolpichitek had an advanced arcane technology that has been lost to the ages. Now, as is proper, Fred the Fighter is going first. And he's got his trusty greatsword at his side, but now in his hands he's carrying two razor sharp machete. And he is using those to slash his way through the jungle until suddenly a vine wraps around him, grabbing him by one leg. Ah! He says, and he goes to attack it with a machete. And even as he raises the other machete, a vine wraps around that hand. And he's like, ah, the plants are attacking me. And as he yells, vines wrap around his throat. And now he's having a hard time talking, and he can't get a word to his companions. And Rachel the Rogue is like, Fred? 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 When suddenly vines leap out and attack her. This, my friend, is one way that your party may encounter assassin vines. All right, that is our monster for the evening, the assassin vine. And we're also going to talk a little bit about other strangling and constricting plants that have appeared in the history of D&D. So assassin vines, as they are described in 5th edition, they're ambulatory plants that collect their fertilizer by grabbing and crushing prey and depositing the carcasses near their roots. Usually stays put unless it needs to seek out prey. And mature plants are about 20 feet long, with smaller vines up to 5 feet long that are under the main vine every 6 inches. And in the late summer, secondary vines produce a bunch of small fruits that resemble wild grapes. Those are tough and hardy but have a bitter flavor. And there's also subterranean assassin vines that are sometimes cultivated by underdark denizens. Maybe you might have Sverfnevlin or Duragar or Drow that will strategically place assassin vines at the edges of their territory to try to capture any intruders that come in. So that is what the assassin vines are all about in 5e. Now, lore about the assassin vines. They absorb nutrients from decaying matter into their roots. They lie in wait until they sense motion, snap out, and entangle prey, strangling it to death. And as we said already, they produce their fruit in late summer. Now, one could only imagine the hallucinogenic hallucinogenic properties of wine made from assassin vine fruit. Take that bitter fruit, ferment it, boil it up, squeeze all the juice out of it, and mix it with flavorings and sugars and such, and turn it into wine. Give it to your guests, and let them have nightmares about being strangled to death by their bed sheets. Okay, the assassin vine is, of course, a plant monster. And in D&D 5th edition, plant monsters are vegetable creatures. Many of them are ambulatory, and some are carnivorous. Shambling mound and tree ants are probably the archetypes uh, of this category of plants, of plant monsters. Also, you have fungal creatures like the myconid and the gas spore, which is sort of a fungal mimic of the beholder that has none of the beholder's nasty eye rays, but they explode and they can um, choke people to death with the spores. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look through the ages at strangling plants. And to do that, we're going to flip on over to the web, and we're going to look at what we have here. Okay, now all the way back from original D&D, there were uh, there was a plant called the giant serpentweed, and this was an aquatic plant, and uh, it would live in bogs and areas of standing water. Most of it would be underground, but stalks would reach out and they would wrap around their prey. And on the end, kind of the bulb, which gives them their name, looks a little bit like a serpent's head. And as it would strangle its prey, it would strike with that bulb, and that would release digestive enzymes that would begin to dissolve and digest their prey while they were being constricted. In addition to that, you have strangleweed. So strangleweed is also from this same source. This, by the way, is called the Creature Catalog from the first or from original D&D. The other one was a 9-hit die monster, or actually every strand of the serpent vine was a 9-hit die monster. You also have, of course, here the strangle vine, which look like creepers up to 20 feet long, dangle from the branches of trees, touch sensitive, and they entangle anything that's moving through them. The strangle weed is a grass-like or seaweed-like version of the strangle vine, and it has an armor class of 1, so it's kind of hard to hit. 12 hit dice, so it's pretty big. And it will grab it. They then there's a weird way to do the grabbing in original D&D. So check this out. Player and the DM each roll 4d6 and add 4. The characters will also add any strength bonuses or penalties. And if the player's total is twice that of the DM's roll, the victim has escaped. If the victim's roll is less than twice the weed's but still exceeds it, no damage is done, but the victim is held tight. And if the weed beats the victim's roll, the difference is the damage done to the victim in hit points. So that's a really odd and weird way of resolving the grapple with this specific monster. And that's one of the things that's kind of charming about original D&D is that a lot of times monsters would have you would do different kinds of rolls to see the effect of the monster's attack. It wasn't just always a d20 to attack and then see how much damage you did. There was always kinds of all kinds of things, and of course seaweed that's found in the ocean. And then you also have whipweed, which would be down here. And the whipweed looks like this. It's like a bulb growing on the surface of the ground with two large um, fronds, if you will, coming out of it. And they will then uh, lash out and wrap around enemies. And they attack anything that moves within the range of the stock, each one striking as a 3-hit die monster and attacking different targets. Um, and then they deal damage not only by entangling them, but by acidic sap that comes uh, out of the stalks there. So now that's an idea of what plant monsters were like in original D&D. Now, in first edition, we'll move on to the Fiend Folio. First edition, we have Whipweed. And Whipweed, of course, that's just the same thing that we looked at. And it very much does the same type of damage that the aforementioned creature does. Also, there is a choke creeper, which is from the Monster Manual 2 for first edition. And the choke creeper, we don't have an image for it, but armor class is 6 for the vine and 5 for the stalk. 25 hit dice. So back in those days, the number of hit dice gave you an idea of what size it was. So anything with 25 hit dice is really large, because most dragons in this edition have like under 20 hit dice. So you can see by comparison that a 25 hit die monster is really, really big. And the plant stem grows to near tree trunk thickness and may be over 100 feet long and have a score or more of creeping, strangling vines. And choke creepers, vines creep 5 feet per round by use of flexible tendrils. Each vine takes 2 to 16 points to sever, and the larger the plant, the hardier the vine. And then small creepers have only 1 point per hit die. The huge old ones have 8 points per hit die. They're attracted to light and movement. They appear by normal vegetation. They can usually grab unsuspecting victims. And they're squeezed for 1 d4 damage per turn. Now, what's interesting is a turn is a unit of time in this old edition that is 10 minutes. So 1d4 every 10 minutes, that's really low. However, there's a 10% chance per turn of squeezing that a vine will use a strangling grip. And if it does, the victim simply dies at the end of the succeeding round. So it sounds like, 1d4 every 10 minutes, I have plenty of time to do that, until the DM rolls that 10%. Oh, yeah, it uses a strangling. Okay, you're dead. It's like, what? So you really do need to try to get out of this thing if it's got its creepers on you. It's really a creepy old bastard. Choke Creeper is not affected by small torch-sized fires, but a hot fire such as burning oil will cause normal damage, and mobile vines will move away. Coal will cause 1 point of damage per damaged die and immobilize the plant sections struck for 2 to 5 rounds. Electrical attacks double the movement rate of vines for 2d5 round or 2 to 5 rounds and do no damage to the plant. So don't use normal fire and don't use electricity. You'll only make it mad. All right, so then when we look at 2nd edition, we have that Choke Creeper again, and we have the Strangleweed. And let's see, so the Choke Creeper, armor class 6 and 5, 25 hit dice. So, yeah, very much the same kind of thing. Now, this is under the category of dangerous plants. Then there's something under the category of intelligent plants, and that is the strangleweed. They consider that strangleweed, and it's subtropical or tropical ocean, and then so the where is it? Strangleweed. Intelligent kelp found in relatively warm seawater bed of carnivorous plants indistinguishable from normals, and it will cover an oval area of 3d4 square feet on the sea's surface. And then with 3d4 fronds of varying lengths hanging downward from the patch. And near creatures are attacked, they're entwined, and then they are pulled under so that they drown. And then it feeds off of the victims. So, yes, these are all just absolutely lovely, lovely plant monsters that you would wish that you could bring home to mom. Okay, in the 3rd edition, we have the Assassin Vine. That's where the actual Assassin Vine itself shows up for the first time, is in 3rd edition in the Monster Manual. And it has, let's see. Now, it is a challenge rating of 3, which matches its challenge rating in 5th edition. 30 hit points, moves 5 feet per round, and it basically makes the slam and grapple attacks and chokes people to death, just like the Assassin Vine of 5th edition. And also in 3rd edition, you have something called the Kelp Angler. And the Kelp Angler is a monster out of the 3rd edition Fiend Folio. And, well, phooey, I didn't keep my 3rd edition Fiend Folio open. Can I open it real quick? I think I can open it real quick. Okay, so let's do this. Let's go to Monster Monday. Fiend Folio. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And page 113. Okay, 112, 113. Okay, so here's our Kelp Angler. Now it is a CR9, challenge rating 9 monster. And it has not yet been ported to 5th edition. But it has a movement of 20 feet and it can swim 60 feet. Armor class of 21. So it's pretty hard to hit. And it does the it has the choking and grappling, but it also has supernatural spell-like abilities, which means that it will cast dispel magic on creatures that it attacks. One of the reasons it does that is so that it can remove any water breathing spells on them. So yeah, it's just kind of a really nasty form of mobile seaweed. All right, and that is what is in third edition. Now, in fifth edition, we don't have any strangling plants, so we will just go to the Assassin Vine for fifth edition. Armor class 13, 85 hit points. Moves 5 feet, climbs 5 feet. Challenge rating 3. Resists cold and fire. And it will constrict for 2d6 plus 4 bludgeoning damage per round. And it is. And while it's grappled, it takes 6d6 poison damage at the start of each of its turns. So this thing kills. It's lethal both from its constriction and from the poison. And it also has the ability to animate normal vines around it and have those go and constrict around a person. So animate normal vines and roots on the ground in a 15-foot square within 30 feet. And then anybody who goes into that area must succeed on a strength save or be restrained by the entangling vines. And then, of course, while they're entangled, the assassin vine can just come in and have its lunch at leisure. Well, this is just, like I said, this is just not necessarily the most wonderful kind of monster you have ever met. So let's imagine how you might use assassin vines in encounters. And I always think of encounters as, okay, how would I use this against a party of 5 characters, and what level would they be, and how would I make it a hard or challenging encounter? Um, a hard encounter is supposed to make make the players use some of their resources and make them think they're in danger for a while before they prevail. So if you have a first level party of 5 PCs at first level, a single assassin vine is beyond deadly for them. If you have a second level party, it's a medium encounter. So to make it a hard encounter, add a single needle blight. At third level, it's also a medium encounter. And if you want to make it a hard encounter, add an awakened tree. And then at fourth level, it becomes an easy encounter. And if you want to make it a hard encounter, add a second assassin vine. So, um, 2 of these assassin vines working in tandem with that whole ability to uh, use the grasping vines, and maybe if they have those in an area that is large enough to immobilize the entire party. Ooh, yeah, that would be kind of bad. Okay, so how would you place these in campaigns? They're CR3, so they're a challenge for low-level parties. Maybe your party is been hired to go and deal with um, the meddling of a sect of evil druids. And perhaps those evil druids have assassin vines in place as part of their defense mechanism. So as you go there, it would be almost kind of like a trap, but a trap they'd have to fight instead of a trap that they'd have to try to disarm. Um, and you also may think about a lost civilization where there's rumored to be curses on the jungle around the civilization. Well, maybe one of those curses is the fact that there's a bunch of assassin vines around. And as your party gets close, the very jungle comes alive and starts to attack them. Much as in our opening where we were talking about Fred the Fighter getting attacked by the assassin vines. And then Rachel the Rogue wondering what happened because she wasn't hearing Fred the Fighter anymore. So the party might be hired to ferret out who has turned nature against nearby settlements, or they might be on a quest to find some sort of lost treasure in the ruins of an ancient civilization. And so, you could have some fun with this Assassin Vine in a low-level campaign. All right, now, how would you reskin it? How do you reskin a plant? Well, basically, you turn it into something that's not a plant. And for an assassin vine, because it's vine-like, first things that come to mind for me are ropes and chains. So think about using the same stat block, and instead of having it being a plant monster, have it be a construct monster. And so it would do rope. It would be animated ropes that might attack people, or animated chains that might attack people. And as we see, the assassin vine has poison, but maybe in the case of rope, it might be, um, it might be something like acidic damage, or like the rope is coated in some kind of acidy thing, and when that wraps around, it deals acid damage instead of poison damage. And then for the chain, maybe the chains are like heated, so it does fire damage to somebody instead of poison damage. So you could have a little bit of fun again with whatever. However you change that damage up. You also, in a different context, instead of having it be chains and ropes, it might be leather straps. Leather straps, kind of like the reins of a horse, or some other kind, belt or something. Maybe you're in a steampunk type of campaign, and you're going into some sort of a steampunk factory, and if you've ever seen movies depicting like old steam powered mills, you may know that at one time uh, there were these like big wide leather belts that would drive the machines. So you'd have the steam engine and a wheel on the end of the steam engine, and that wheel would have a wide leather belt attached to it, which would be attached to other wheels, and those other wheels would be turning whatever the machinery was. And sometimes you'd have series of those throughout the factory. So maybe your party is going into a factory owned by some evil protagonist, or evil antagonist, I should say, in your campaign. And as they go in there, the belts kind of slip off of the machinery and come down and attack the party, because they are actually animated in the way that assassin vines are animated. So those could be, kind of things you could do with that. All right. Hey, Drowning Fish. Hello. How are you doing? Well, we're just about to get to the Q&A. So if you have any questions, go ahead and let me know. In the meantime, I am going to go ahead into the wrap up. I have been DM Gallibond. This has been Monster Monday, and tonight we've been talking about the Assassin Vine. And while you are here on this Twitch channel, you can look for information on my other shows. There's 3 actual play D&D games that I run every week. Sundays at 2 p.m., The Walker of Waterdeep. Thursdays at 8 p.m., The Sword Coast Chronicles. And Saturdays at 7 p.m., The Lost Mine of Original D&D. which is a retelling of the Lost Mine of Phandelver with PCs and monsters and rules all taken from original D&D. All right, so you can find all that on my Twitch channel. On my YouTube channel, you can find archives of all of the Monster Monday and the campaigns that I am running and have run in the past. And there is also a Patreon if you guys are interested in that. And coming soon, there will be a Discord where all of the players of my games can hang out together, and where people who follow my streams and the content that I put up on YouTube can also talk with the people who play in the games and with each other and all that kind of good stuff. So that is coming in the very near future. All right, so let's see. Did we have any? Okay, John and Fish, thank you for chilling out. Thank you for coming out this evening. Yeah, the assassin vine. We've been talking about how that is a bit of a strange old creature, and now my stupid computer is doing this dumb thing again, where it is being a pain. Okay, all right. I think it's going to finally behave. Alrighty then. Well, if there are no questions, I will simply go ahead and close out, as I always do, by wishing you all a good night and reminding everybody to watch out for the monsters under the bed. Good night, everybody. Okay, come on. You can go to the last slide. Or maybe you're not going to go to the last slide. And if you're not going to go to the last slide, then I will just have to close out without any music. That will be a bummer. But I guess I will. All right, good night, everybody.